So I'm probably sure you've watched a few reviews about the Nothing Phone 3 and I've also done the same. And here are my first impressions and take about the Phone 3, which was actually released by Nothing a few weeks ago. First off, this is Nothing's first flagship phone and it's actually going for $800 or around 799. And let's start off with the design. I mean, this is the most unique and, attractive thing about the Phone 3, and that is how it looks on the outside. So the design here is very, very beautiful and very, very unique. It's nothing is not following our traditional design from other brands and things like that. It has actually carved its own pathway when it comes to design and impressions and how it makes you feel when you take a look. So they've actually ditched the glyph lights into a much more improved glyph interface, which can actually do way more than its predecessors. Now it's more like a glyph screen which can be used to display things like a timer, the spinning bottle, and a whole lot more. I think the most interesting thing they did with the glyph interface was actually the selfie mirror thing they did, where you can be using your back camera to take a picture and the glyph interface would be showing your face. I think that's very, very cool and very, very innovative. So when it comes to the looks of it, it looks very, very amazing in my opinion. Okay, I personally rock with the white color. I don't know who is buying the black one, but I really rock the white one. So it still carries this transparency through design with its text on the back. And I know the unaligned camera is actually an intentional thing. Nothing actually did that to give we the tech community something to talk about and make noise and buzz. As I said, it's not following your traditional design when it comes to phones. So, they have to give us some few things to make noise and buzz about. And that's the unaligned cameras. Some people find it very, very disturbing. I really don't have an issue with it, but it looks very, very unfamiliar if you ask me. So when it comes to the outside, this phone looks great. But when we talk about the inside, this is where things are not looking quite good for the brand. Nothing. Let me explain. So as I said earlier, this phone here is going for £799 and is actually competing with the likes of the Samsung Galaxy S25 and the iPhone 16. Okay. So this is Nathan's first flagship phone. I'm sure you probably know that. And that is what Nathan is actually trying to sell to we the consumers or the customers. A wise tech YouTuber once said, okay, there's nothing like a bad product, just bad pricing. And I agree. So if the phone 3 is actually competing with the likes of the iPhone 16 and the S25, obviously you should have a lot of things in common with those phones. That is what we should be expecting, right? This is not so. Okay, so let's pull out the spec sheet. So the Nothing Phone 3 here is actually rocking the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 CPU. And moving on to the screen, it really has an amazing screen spec. So first of all, this is a 6.67-inch AMOLED display. It can get up to 120 Hz and is actually using LTPS display technology. So yes, it can get up to 120 Hz, but then it can go as low as 30 Hz. Still on the screen with the protection here is actually the Gorilla Glass 7i. It has a 65-watt max charging speed. It has a 5150 milliampere hour battery for international market, but for the Indian market, they are getting a 5500 milliampere hour battery. I mean, why? Okay, these specs are very, very familiar. I have seen these specs on other phones before, and let's talk about that too as well. If the Nothing Phone 3 is supposed to be competing with those high-end phones, shouldn't it have the exact same specs as those phones? Here are a few phones that I found out have the exact same specs and sometimes even better specs on paper than what we have on the Nothing Phone 3. And they also cost way, way less. So the first one is the Poco F7. It does rock the same CPU, which is the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4, but it actually beats out the Nothing Phone 3 in certain areas. So first off, with the battery. So the Poco F7 actually comes with a 6500 milliampere battery. It charges at 90 watt speed. It's lighter, it's thinner, it has a faster instant touch sampling rate at 2650 Hz. I mean, it's insane. And for the same spec to spec configuration, which is a 12 gigs and 256 gig storage, the Poco F7 is actually going for £359 or so That is less than £400. And comparing that to what we have on the phone 3, which is going for £800, it's strange. Not only that, we also have the IQ Neo 10, exact same thing. This also has a larger battery, faster charging speeds at 120 watts, 144 hertz refresh rate. I mean, it beats out the Nothing Phone 3 when it comes to spec comparisons, and these phones cost less than £400. That is insane. So when we take pricing on the phone 3, personally, I think this phone has a bad price to it. And the phone itself is a very beautiful phone, but the pricing is just not right. If you want better specs, you can actually get phones which cost way cheaper and actually come with way more impressive specs than what we have on the Nothing phone. So, what am I trying to say with all of these things? So, first of all, here's my final verdict about the Nothing Phone 3. So, if you have plans of pre ordering this phone or getting your hands on the Nothing Phone 3, I personally don't think you are buying this phone for a spec to spec comparison with cheaper alternatives and things like that. But if you have plans on getting this phone, I personally think you are getting it for two good reasons. So the first one is community. The Nothing community is a very, very robust, engaging, and just active community, just like what we have for Samsung and iPhones and things like that. Looking at the Nothing team, they have a YouTube channel. They are very, very interactive with their customers and viewers. People tend to send them designs. They talk about it. They give their opinions, and the community is just amazing. There's this sense of belonging if you have a nothing product where you can also relate to other people with the exact same thing. It's just amazing. I would also want to be part of such a community if it was this vibrant and things like that. You'd want to be part of something that is bigger than you, something you get to know you are not alone doing or alone using it, where you have other people to who fully support you and things like that. And that is one amazing thing. The second thing here is actually the hype. Nothing has a whole load of hype. I really like the way they tend to market their products, the way they go about launches, media coverage. This are the two things I think if you have plans on getting these products, you have in mind. You are not really buying it and then comparing it to cheaper alternatives and being like, oh, yes, this is less cheaper, but it has the exact same specs as what I have on my phone, blah blah blah. You are not actually doing that. You are doing it because this phone looks unique. The design is out of this world. I probably don't remember the last time I saw a phone that looks like this. And you can clearly see there's an upward growth when it comes to the design. I mean, looking at what we came from the glyph, and now we have a whole glyph interface screen which has more functionality. It's just wonderful. So here are my impressions and here are my thoughts about the Nothing Phone 3. I think it's a very, very amazing phone. It's just not priced right. That's 799 or £800 price point. It's quite difficult. I would have gotten my hands on this phone if I had the financial backing, but I don't. Okay, so here are my thoughts and impressions on Native Phone 3. If you have plans on buy one, let me know down in the comment section. We can talk and you can share your opinions with me and let's see how things go. Don't forget to like, comment, share this video. It's still on pre-order by the way, so you can still get hands on one if you want to. I'll see you guys another time.